Welcome into what is week 4 of the LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. I am John Walk, sports reporter with L&P, Lancaster Online, along with colleagues Mike Gross and Jeff Reinhart. Mr. Mike Gross is coming to us somewhere in Lancaster County on a golf course somewhere, correct?
I'm at Fox Chase Golf Club for the Section 3, Lancaster Level League Section 3 match. I'm in the fabulous Palmer Room, which
Fantastic.
is kind of a banquet facility here at Fox Chase. The kids are out in the course right now.
Yeah, and after we finish recording this, I'm heading out to a Catholic volleyball practice for a story. So we're doing it all. Let's talk some football week 4 coming up here. What we do typically, we'll lead off with some in-person interviews out at a school that Jeff stopped out at earlier in the week, and then we'll come back from that. We'll break down 5 or 6 games and then give pick'ems on the rest of the games. There's 15 total this week in what is week 4. With that in mind, Jeff was out at Lancaster Catholic earlier this week. Let's talk about the Crusaders, 2-1 overall. How are they feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. Feeling much better about things, no doubt. Lost to DeLone in week 1, but came back they lost to York Catholic in week 1 and came back and beat DeLone and beat Archbishop Carroll. A couple of good defensive efforts. And they beat Archbishop Carroll last week on a 2-point conversion, defensive stand to keep the Patriots out to get the 2 to tie late. So, yeah, Catholic's feeling better about things. They got Colombia this week, their rival. This is a non-league game now, but they were Section 3 rivals forever and ever and ever and ever. Tied one last year. 1914 snapped a 4-year Catholic winning streak. Columbia won 1914 last year. So fun matchup, as always, up on the hill this week, Catholic and Columbia. So Tyler and I went over to Lancaster Catholic on Monday. We chit-chatted with Coach Marino, Tony Cruz, and Mason McClare. We talked all things Catholic winning streak, how they're doing, and prepping for Columbia. Take a look.
An awesome 2-week clip here for you guys. Playing really well, beat DeLone, beat Archbishop Carroll. What's going right here the last 2 weeks? Why are you guys playing so well? And just kind of talk me through this 2-game winning streak.
So the 2-game winning streak, it's been going well because we've been preparing well. We've just had a great mental attitude during the week and before the games. So I guess that's what's been a really good help. And also our scout team's been pushing us a lot harder. Fridays, what's going on defense is that we're just trusting each other to do our job. And as our coach says, we just have to do our 1/11th to push our just push us out to do better. And if everyone does that, then we succeed. Then we stop the offense.
Safe to say your defense will be tested here Friday. Columbia, 900-plus passing yards already. They're not shy. You know what they're probably going to do 99% of the time. How do you prep for a team like that that's really going to throw the ball all over the lot?
Well, I think just really just taking it one play at a time and not giving up big plays. They are a big play offense. They do a great job getting the ball down the field. Their quarterback does a great job extending plays. So for us, it's going to be that, hey, they're going to make some plays, but when if they catch the ball on the field, tackle them, make them snap it over and over again. So we just got to be ready for anything, and again, just play one play at a time and let things come to us and not try and do too much. At any position.
You had a 100-yard night last week. You're among the LL rushing leaders. Please thank your O-line.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, boys, man. Those blocks, beautiful. I was watching film the other night. I was like, these holes are just beautiful. It's a running back stream.
All right, let's talk Columbia. As you mentioned, big rivalry. You guys go way back in the same section for years and years. Now it's non-league, but whatever, you're playing them. Footman's going to throw about 50 passes, but, talk about defending Columbia because they're going to, go up top and go air raid and throw it all over. But what kind of game are you expecting Friday?
We're expecting a good game. It's going to be, it could be back and forth. We don't know yet, but they are to be respected. They have a great QB, a great receiving core. Footman, he can sling the ball, but our defense, I have faith, and all my faith is in my guys. So they have a very good team. We have a very good team, and I think everyone's going to come in and watch a really good game Friday night. It's going to be a good show.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, as we said, Catholic 2-1 overall going to Columbia, 2-1 overall. The Tide coming off a 36-20 win over Hanover. Crusaders coming off that 21-19 win over Archbishop Carroll. Let's break it down here, gentlemen. We know that Columbia won this last year to kind of break the snide there. But I don't know. I look at both teams, and this was really a coin toss game for me this week on both sides, just because I saw Columbia last week, and while they have really nice offensive pieces, they're missing their leading rusher in Stevie Rivas. Who knows if he plays this coming Friday? If he does, I like Columbia. If he doesn't, and I'm not too sure. And Columbia, week 2, they started fast, and then they lost to Donegal, and then week 3 they started slow, and then they came back against Hanover. And Catholic kind of has started to seem to figure things out, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Correct?
Ryan, break it down.
Breaking it down, yeah, Catholics really figured it out defensively. As mentioned, that big D stand, and the week before they held DeLone to 1 touchdown. So, yeah, they've really figured it out. Eric Dresch, Isaiah Crane, J.J. Keck, these guys are making plays. Tony Cruz on defense had his linebacker spot. They're making stops and kind of scoring just enough to win. They scored, 21 against Carroll and 13 against DeLone, 2 touchdowns. So they're not popping the scoreboard all over the place, lighting it up, but they're getting just enough. I have Columbia circled here. I still love their passing game. Robert Footman, 917 passing yards and 9 touchdowns. Both lead the league in 3 weeks. That's really good. I want to see if Catholic can kind of make them one-dimensional and maybe get a pick or turn them over a couple of times. And Columbia's got to stop Catholic. Catholic doesn't have a ton of weapons. It seemed like the same 2 or 3 kids kind of touch the ball every game. But Columbia can play D and get some stops. I think they can get enough points here. This should be a fun game.
The reason why I passed it off to you there, Ryan, is I'm really looking forward to John's pick here in the context of his credo that defense wins championships, because this is a defense versus offense matchup.
Well, I'll counter that.
You'll never get a starker one than this.
I'll counter that to say Catholic has given up 217 yards a game. Columbia has given up 255 yards a game. Those 2 marks are top 7 among all LL League teams. So, and the Columbia defense, if you remember, from 4 minutes left in the second quarter onward against Hanover last week, they held Hanover to 23 total yards. They gave up some big plays and turned the ball over early on. And gave up a couple big interception returns and kickoff returns. Once they figured that out, they were okay. But I know
Columbia wins. So you're saying both teams have a good defense.
They can't tie, John.
One has a great offense.
Yes. And as I was picking this game, I had Mike Gross in mind, because I was like, I know I've been saying defense wins championships through the first few weeks of the season. But just from what I see from Columbia, I think they have too many weapons for Catholic. And I'm going to take the Tide, but I don't feel good about it.
You made an excellent defense of your position there. And you actually talked me into it. I'm going to take Columbia too.
Okay.
The Tide's offense is just a little more potent, but they cannot have 15 drop balls like they did against Donegal.
Correct. Yeah. And as far as giveaways go, Columbia had 4 last week. But then again, if you look at Catholic, they've had 5 on the season, and Columbia 7 on the season. So that kind of evens itself out. All right. So I think we're all taking Tide across the board, but we don't feel great about it. Moving on, the trophy game of the week, Milk Jug anyway. Solanco going to Lampeter Strasburg. Both teams are 2-1. LS coming off a 19-0 win over Conestoga Valley. Solanco coming off a 42-0 win over Muhlenberg. Jeff, you covered LS the last couple of weeks. You could probably tell us about the Pioneers in depth.
Back-to-back shutout wins for LS, which is impressive. Kind of got axed a little against Warwick in week 1, but they've come back, shut out Penn Manor, shut out CV impressively. They haven't given up a touchdown since the last week of August, if you want to look at it that way. 8-3 LS leads this series for the Milk Jug. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's really cool. It's a milk jug. It's a big Lancaster County farm.
Whoever's covering that game, take a picture of it.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's Scout Around Lancaster online. There's pictures of it, but half of it's painted black and yellow, half of it's painted blue and white. And then they put like the year and the score and everything. The kids love it. I remember being in a Solanco practice a couple of years ago, and they had it.
I think we had it on our football show that Tuesday.
I think
we
you're
went
right.
out.
And they had it sitting
it's hard to overstate how much kids love trophies, and especially if they're weird trophies. I've seen this in the Big Ten. I've seen it in high school. Mm-hmm. They love trophies, man. Yep. They can't get enough of that stuff.
That week at Solanco, they had it sitting on its own little special desk out on the practice field, and they said, "Oh, that'll be here all week." So I'm sure LS will come marching in with it on Friday. LS is going to need to play some rush D here because Solanco has 900 plus rushing yards in 3 weeks, and they lead the league in rushing as a unit. Brody Mellinger went off last week. I thought he had his breakout quarterback game, rushed for 178 and 4 touchdowns. Oh. They're coming off a shutout win. They beat Muhlenberg 42-0. So both defenses are firing and playing really well. So I just think it comes down to who stops who here. I was impressed with LS's rushing game last week against CB. I thought they ran the ball a lot better. Malatesta ran the ball really well. Wagner on keepers. I have LS circled. They're at home on the turf, and they've won the last couple here in this series. And I like their defense just a little more with back-to-back shutouts. And I like the way their line play is coming around up front. So I'll go Pioneers at home.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say I'll go back to my defense wins championships argument here in the sense that LS back-to-back shutouts, whereas Solanco gave up 613 rushing yards to this point, which is 5th most amongst all LL schools. So I like the LS defense over the Solanco defense. I'll take the Pioneers. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, teams have been able to run the ball in Solanco. That's right. I'm really impressed with what LS has done since a tough week 1. I was surprised at that result to some extent, but what they've done since, pretty impressive. So I like LS.
All right, I'll go on LS. Moving on, Donegal, 2-1 overall, going to Anvil Cleona, 1-1 overall. The Little Dutchmen coming off their first win of the season, 43-20 over Littlestown. Donegal coming off a 42-14 win across the river there over Eastern York, excuse me. Yeah, both offensive units really came alive last Friday. Donegal 483 total yards from scrimmage. Anvil Cleona, that beer offense, 450 yards. So you got to think a lot of points here, correct?
Well, I mean, both these teams want to use clock to some extent. I mean, they don't not necessarily want to, but the way they play results in using clock in both cases. I like Donegal because I think they're a little bit. I think Anvil Cleona has to find teams that they can block. Anvil Cleona is kind of small, whereas I suspect that Donegal's a little more physical, and also that wing T you can get away with not completely blowing people off the line of scrimmage with that offense. So I think it's a pretty good matchup, and it's at Anvil. I like Donegal a little.
Yeah, I like Donegal here. Wing T against Veer. So, yeah, I mean, this game might take
I'm covering this game. I'm hoping fast game. Right.
This game might take an hour and a half. I mean, really, if they just run. Yeah. I like the way Donegal's playing here. They've won 2 in a row, and they were this close in that E-Town game in week 1. Mm-hmm. I think Donegal's kind of found it. Landon Bachman's playing really well at quarterback. He's only completed like 12 or 15 passes, but like 6 of them or 5 of them are for touchdowns. Roar's running the ball. Holmes is running the ball. The line's coming together. It's always different kids and new names at Donegal, but they always block well and make holes and pull in that wing T. So love that Anvil put up 450 yards against Littlestown last week and scored 43 points. But I just like Donegal here. I think they're a little more edgier, a little stronger up front, and they're going to wrap and tackle a little better. So I'll go Indians.
Yeah, I'll go Donegal as well for the simple reason they've held their 3 opponents to 203 total rushing yards through 3 weeks, which is the best mark among all teams in the LL League. So with that in mind, I'm also taking Donegal. You're watching the LL Football Roundtable sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. We have a couple more games to break down here, and then we'll get to our pick'ems. Ephrata 2-1 going to Elko 1-1. Ephrata coming off a 42-14 loss to Warwick, the Mountaineers' first loss of the year. Elko also coming off their first loss of the year, 35-32 to Conrad Weiser. I got to say, I'm impressed by what the Raiders were able to do against a really good Conrad Weiser team who I believe the Conrad Weiser quarterback just committed to Dartmouth this week, and Elko almost won that game, considering the fact they were 1 for 5 on extra point conversions. You make those, they'd be what, 2-0 right now. So for that reason, I'm going to go Elko.
I think this is an unbelievably tough. This is the toughest pick of the year for me. I think this is a very even matchup. I took Ephrata in our picks for the paper. I don't know that Elko has a big playmaking speed factor like this Weidman kid for Ephrata. But I don't feel great about it. Once again, John, you made a convincing argument that almost has me changing my mind. But I'm going to stick with Ephrata. Barely.
Andre Weidman, 497 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Both lead the league. He's been a monster. Nobody's come close.
Let me ask you a question. I just thought of this. The freshman, the kid who was such a good running back last year was a freshman for Elko. Is he back? Because he was hurt at the beginning of the year.
He has not played to date.
Yeah. That's an issue. Maybe he gives them that speed and that home run hitting.
Oh, definitely.
And that takes Elko maybe to another level.
I had heard week 2 or 3, but then don't forget they didn't play week 1 because of COVID.
That's right.
So Elko's only at 2 games. So I would think Jake would be back soon. His big brother's ripping it up. Luke
is. He's a very good player.
He's awesome.
He might be able to play college football.
Very underrated kid that, I mean.
He's a classic running back linebacker guy.
Absolutely. And Bohannon got a lot of headlines last year, but Luke Williams was great. He rushed for 177 last week against Weiser. So I have Ephrata circled. I think they're going to just have a couple of more weapons, and nobody has stopped Weidman. I mean, he's got a kick return for a touchdown. He's got a dozen or 2 tackles on defense, and he leads the league in rushing and touchdown scored. I think this one will be close.
This is really a tough call, I think.
Yeah, really close. And I would hate for it to come down to the specialist guys missing a PAT somewhere, but this has like 28-27 or something written all over it. So I'll go Ephrata. I think
Elko last week scored 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They went for 2 twice, made it once.
Yeah.
And they went for 1 3 times and missed them all.
Which is rare because they have a really good kicker. I assume Shuey kicked, but Reese Shuey's one of the better kickers in the league. So I don't know what happened there. I hate when games. Yeah. I hate when games are decided on like a missed kick in high school. That stinks. I'll go Ephrata here. I like the Mounts by a little.
All right, Penn Manor 2-1 going to Warwick 2-1. The Warriors, as we said, coming off that 42-14 win over Ephrata. Meanwhile, Penn Manor coming off a 21-9 win over Northeastern. The Comets are 2-1 for the first time since 2014. Speaking of which, that's also the season in which Penn Manor last beat Warwick, as the Warriors have won the last 6 matchups in this series. And Penn Manor, first-year varsity QB Eli Warfel, he won the job in preseason camp, and he's off to a really hot start.
Yeah, Penn Manor's been pretty good. Warfel's been pretty good. Warwick's been better. I like Warwick.
Yeah, Eli Warfel had his kind of breakout game last week. 103 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. They haven't gone up top a ton. They've kind of kept it on the ground. But a couple of wins now for Penn Manor, so they have some mo. And John, like you said, this is their best start since like 2013-14 range. So it's been a little while. So they've kind of figured some things out up front. We knew they were going to have some beef, and now the offense is doing some things. Warwick, Jack Reed has 3 200-plus yard passing games in a row, and he did play. He played last week against Ephrata. He was nicked up in the CD East game, but he was fine. He came out and threw for 225. Cooper Eckert and Ryan Fink have been great catching the ball, and Christian Royer rushed for 117 and 3 touchdowns last week. So that tells me that Warwick's O-line, minus Rucci et al., is playing really good. I mean, they're giving Reed time, and they're blowing open holes for Royer. So I like Warwick here at home. I still say the CD East game was a blip. I still think Warwick will be a major player in Section 2, and I think they win here and kind of get that mo heading towards the section openers in a couple of weeks. I'll go Warriors.
I'm going to go Warwick as well. I know Penn Manor has only give up 100 passing yards so far, but they really haven't faced a Warwick offense like this. Just want to throw a name out here. Cooper Eckert leading the league in receiving yards, 18 catches for 366 yards, a 20-catch 20 yards per catch average, 3 touchdowns. I think he'll have another big night. Penn Manor might try to control the game on the ground and control the clock anyway. But I like Warwick here. Mike?
Yeah, I thought I already said
Sorry.
that. I like
Maybe
Warwick.
I missed it. All right, so we're all going Warwick.
3 for 3.
All right. This is the LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College Technology. All right, so we broke down our what we think are the top 5 games of the week. We have 10 remaining games, what we like to call the pick'em section. We'll give you the matchup, what they did last week, and try to be quick as far as who we think is going to win. Let's start with Cocalico, 1-2 overall, going to Garden Spot, 0-3. The Eagles coming off a 56-0 loss to a stacked Governor Mifflin team. Meanwhile, Garden Spot coming off a 45-17 loss to Daniel Boone. Got to say, I'm surprised by the final scores of both of those games. Cocalico not so much, but I like Cocalico in this one, even if they are missing some running backs to injury. We know they have a good Garden Spot has that good kicker. We know Cocalico has a nice lineman, Ryan Brubaker, but Cocalico returned 4 starting O-linemen coming into this year, and for that reason, I'll go Cocalico.
Yeah, I like the Eagles too. I think both these teams are better than their records, But Cocalico is I think one of the better teams in our league. You can't go by Governor Mifflin right now. No. Governor Mifflin is the gold standard. So I like the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah, Mifflin is the gold standard, but I still didn't see 56 zip. Cocalico will get healthy, and when they get healthy, they'll be very dangerous. Right now, they're giving up 433 yards a game, second worst in the LL. Garden Spot's been snake bit. 3 tough losses. They were in like all 3 games. Shoulda, coulda won 2 of them, but I like Cocalico here on the turf at Garden Spot. Eagles.
All right. Octorara 3-0 going to Phoenixville. 0-2. Phoenixville coming off a 21-19 loss to Upper Moreland. Octorara coming off a 55-13 win over Pottstown. As we said, the Braves are undefeated, and I think they stay undefeated. Go to 4-0. I like Octorara in this one.
I'm impressed with what Octorara has done the last couple of years. We can almost say they're really a program now. It's not just an upcycle, maybe. So yeah, I like them here. I like Octorara.
Octorara is number 1 in the LL League in total offense, 433 yards a game. That's pretty good.
And their quarterback is the top, passer rating in the league as well.
Passer rating, Weston Stoltzfus goes off to an unbelievable start throwing the ball. They don't go up top much, but when they do, he completes it. They'll get to 4-0 here for the first time in program history.
Nice.
Braves over Phantoms, the Phoenixville Phantoms. It's pretty cool.
I like it.
I like it. Yeah, Northern Lebanon 2-1 going to Lebanon 0-3 overall. The Vikings coming off a 33-6 win over York Tech. Lebanon still trying to figure things out, coming off a 60-6 loss to McCaskey. Mike, you're kind of our Lebanon County guy. What's going on with the Cedars? And then we'll throw out to Jeff to talk about Northern Lebanon. I believe that's his football feature this week.
Well, the Cedars had 7 fumbles last week and lost 6 of them. So that can be something that tells you, read the tea leaves on that. I don't know, but they're really struggling. They're struggling to figure it out. Yeah, as you said, I think you said it exactly right, John. And the Vikings have been a little bit of a surprise, although they certainly, their schedule has been workable, let's say. But first year coach, and he seems to have it going in the right direction. So I like the Vikes.
Northern Lebanon here. Yes, the feature this week. Take a look Thursday. Kalani Adams is a name you need to know. And probably outside of LL Section 4, probably not a lot of people know this kid, and he's a beast. Linebacker, O-tackle, ripped, cut.
That's a rare combination. Linebacker, O-tackle, and he's not a 250-pound kid. He's not a real bulky kid.
No, he's 6'2".
But he looks like a player. He looks like an athlete. He really does. Yeah.
And Chris Knight has the coolest picture of all time of Kalani Adams. Wait until you see it. But anyway, very underrated kid. Probably one of the most underrated kids in the LL. And he's a really good player, and he's going to play at the next level, no doubt. I picked Lebanon to beat McCaskey last week, and then McCaskey put 60 on him. So, Cedars, I can't pick you. Sorry. Ton of momentum, Northern Lebanon. I love the way they're going. And until Lebanon kind of figures out a lot of things, I can't.
I think that was my biggest surprise of the year on this show was both of you guys picking Lebanon last week. That really surprised me.
Well, I crunched the numbers.
As only you can.
Yeah, and I was really wrong. But I'll go Northern Lebanon here. I love their Mo.
We should point out that Jeff's football feature so far, the player that he's written about, that team has then won on Friday. So you're 3-0. There's no Jeff Reinhardt jinx. So you're writing about Northern Lebanon's Kalani Adams. So, of course, the Vikings are then going to win this week. So I'll also take Northern Lebanon. Manheim Central 3-0 going to Perkiomen Valley 2-1. Perkiomen coming off a 55-20 win over Downingtown West. The Barons coming off a 60-0 win over Susquehanna Township. Mike, you covered Manheim Central last week. How did they look?
They struggled. You may not believe this, but they struggled for a while. They had 1 first down at the end of the first quarter. They only really got rolling when Susquehanna started putting the ball on the ground. And Susquehanna is really, they've fallen and they can't get up as a program right now. But Judd Novak is a very good quarterback, and he made some big time throws. I think this is a tough spot for Central. I think I'm going to surprise you a little bit here. I think this is a tough spot for them going on the road. Perkiomen Valley's only loss is to Coatesville, and it was close. I'm going to go with Perkiomen Valley here.
Whoa, really?
Yep.
Okay. Fun Manheim Central stats. You ready?
Ready.
Here we go. The Barons have given up 51 rushing yards in 3 games, 0.6 yards per carry.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Their run defense is good. Their run defense.
They've given up 7 points in 3 games. They've outscored their opponents 109-7. They are giving up 105 yards a game. That's it. And they have 14 sacks. So they're getting to the quarterback.
Yep. They're a very their defensive front, which was a big problem last year, is a big plus now. I don't know how they fixed that. I asked Mike Williams, how did you fix this already? He says fast. And he said, well, good players make good coaches. Well, that's not real. Come on, Mike. But but anyway, they have solved that problem for sure. And they're very good. They're very I don't want to suggest that they're not very good. They are.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar with Perkiomen Valley, Montgomery County Pioneer Athletic Conference, they were 6-2 last year. They're a Class 6A football program, I should say. And I went back through just season by season. They've been in the postseason every year from 2009 through 2019. And 2016, they came 1 win shy of reaching the state quarters. So they've been very good also for a long time, like Central. Not on the level of Central, of course, but they're used to winning, which is worth pointing out here. I like the Barons.
Yeah, I mean, is Central going to sack them 6 times and hold them to 100 yards and shut them out for their 3rd shutout in a row? I'm going to guess no, but there's no way I'm picking against Central right now. They are smoking. I'll go Barons, and I'll see you in Collegeville.
All right. All right, moving on. Conestoga Valley at Daniel Boone, pair of 1 and 2 overall teams. Daniel Boone, as we mentioned earlier, coming off a 45-17 win over Garden Spot. Conestoga Valley. They finished last year winning 5 games.
5
so far 1 and 2, which kind of surprised me. Blanked last week, 19-0 loss to Lampeter Strasburg. I think the Buckskins get back on track this week. I'll take CV.
I'm surprised that CV has not been better offensively. I mean, I don't know. At some point you have to start looking at the numbers and the scores. And I mean, I like Daniel Boone.
Wow. Okay. I talked to Jared Novak after the game the other night at CV, and I said, you were 1 and 2 last year, and this is when you got hot. And he said, well, hopefully we do, but we got to figure some things out for sure. I was surprised too. I mean, LS's defense is good, but I was a little surprised CV got shut out. And Boone beat Garden Spot, and they're playing pretty well with a backup quarterback because their starting quarterback broke his ankle. But I'll go CV here. I think the Bucks do figure it out. I think Novak's going to get their attention this week. I really like Tran. I really like Plowden.
Yeah, they're such a fun team to watch when they're rolling. I mean, not to sound like a homer, but I really do hope they get going.
Yeah, I know they had some injuries, O-line stuff last week, so we shall see. I'll go Bucks here. I think they figure it out.
All right, McCaskey 2-1, Gover 2, Elizabethtown 1-2, Red Tornado coming off a 60-6 win over Lebanon, and E-Town coming off a 32-12 loss to Lower Dauphin. Can you believe it, McCaskey? This is a team that came into the year 26-game losing streak, somewhere around there, and off to a pretty good start. This was kind of a coin flip game for me. I'm surprised at E-Town's start. I'm kind of surprised at McCaskey's start, but when you look harder at it, McCaskey's 2 wins have come against teams that are kind of really still figuring it out. And E-Town last week gave up more than 300 yards. 5 of their 6 long snapping tries were botched. They had a field goal block missed on a PAT. So it feels like the Bears are a team that's still figuring things out, and perhaps McCaskey takes advantage of that. Add it all up, I'll take the Red Tornado.
I like it. I think this one is almost as hard as Effort and Outgo. I think this is really tough. I gotta believe E-Town is a little better than they've shown so far, and I think with all respect to McCaskey, we're glad that they're winning. A little bit of the schedule you got to factor in here. So I like E-Town a hair.
Yeah, E-Town's the 3rd ranked defense in the league.
That's
pretty good. And then, like Mike said, I had to sleep on this one. This was the last one I circled this week. I'm going to take E-Town at home. I'll go home team. I still say E-Town's going to break out. I pleaded with them to get on the board and score points last week, and they had 2 touchdowns, which was more than the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's surprising that they haven't.
Yeah, but I just like E-Town here. I like the way their D is playing, and they have kids. And I think they win here. This could be a shootout, actually. You never know.
Yeah. It's the LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College Technology. I know it's supposed to be our pick'ems part. We still have 5 more games to go here. I'll try to be quick.
That's all right. Let's go, baby. This is what the public wants.
Exeter going to Hempfield. Exeter coming off a 42-14 win over Wilson. Hempfield went toe-to-toe with a good Central York team, lost 35-21. And Central York obviously is a quarterback going to Penn State and Bo Pribula. And I bring that up to say Exeter's tight end just got an offer from Penn State, correct, Mike?
Yeah, he visited during the Ball State game and got an offer. Yep.
Nice.
I'm going to take Exeter here.
I've been kicking myself for a week for not picking Exeter last week. Yeah. I just didn't have the nerve to pull the trigger on that. I thought that was a terrible spot on the schedule for Wilson. Exeter's a good team. They're capable. I thought they were capable. I don't know why I didn't have the nerve to pull the trigger on that, because why does it take nerve? Who cares? But anyway, I think this is almost the opposite. I hate this. I think this is a tough spot in the schedule for Exeter. I think Hempfield at home with a really good defense, ready to step up. I think they're a pretty good team. I think I'm picking Hempfield for some of the same reasons that I should have picked Exeter last week, if that makes any sense. I'm sure it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of pointing today.
I know Hempfield is off to 1-2 start, but I still like their chances in Section 1. They've impressed me even despite the couple losses.
I agree. They're better than their record.
Exeter's averaging 450 yards a game, which is kind of staggering. That's a lot of yards. And Eric Nangle is a really good running back who lit up Wilson for 210 and 3 touchdowns last week. He's pretty good. I have Exeter circled. Mike, I love what you said. I mean, Hempfield's growing on me a little bit, and they're in a wicked spot in their schedule, and they have Warwick next week.
Yeah,
this is just.
I like this. I mean, there's an ebb and flow to these seasons, and where teams meet each other, where they're at when they meet in the schedule. And I should have done it last week with Exeter. I'm doing it this week with Hempfield.
You learned your lesson. Exeter was losing 14-0 to Wilson, by the way, and scored 42 unanswered. Yep. So I really like the way they're going. So I'm going to go Exeter, but
understandable. Yep.
I do like Hempfield, and I think they will be heard from moving forward. Yes, but I'll go Exeter here.
All right. Manheim Township 1-2 going to Springford 2-1. Springford coming off a 23-19 loss to Cumberland Valley. Township coming off an overtime loss 20-17 to Harrisburg. Remember, they were supposed to play CD East last Friday, and then that game got bagged, so they picked up a Saturday game against Harrisburg at the last minute. And this was really a coin flip game for me in the sense that week 2, Township goes to Dallastown, loses. That surprised me. And then I was thinking they were going to win last Friday, and then, things change. They play Harrisburg. They go to overtime. They still almost win it. And Spring 4, they have wins over, Westchester East and Chambersburg. They played Cumberland Valley tough. I'll take Township in this one. I think they get back on track, but I don't feel great about it.
Well, I'm taking Township, and I do feel great about it.
Okay.
I give them enormous props for playing that game last week. Just playing Harrisburg, and then the way they played in that game, the way they defended one of the most talented teams in our area for sure. I mean, as far as assessing them going forward, I almost count that game as a win. In terms of assessing them going forward, Springford lost to Cumberland Valley. I mean, it's on the road. It's a little bit of a trip for the Blue Streaks, but I think that was significant what they did last week, even though they didn't win. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but I like Township. I like them this week and going forward.
Yeah, I covered the Township Harrisburg game. I was impressed with what Township did, and I didn't realize until I was talking with Mark Evans before, they are young. He's starting sophomores all over the place, and he starts a freshman, Declan Clancy, starts on defense as a 9th grader, and he's pretty good. Township's going to be really good. Like in a year or two, they're going to be back to like 9-1, 10-0 range. Hear me now, believe me later. I have Springford circled. Both of you guys are making great points about Township. Now I feel bad. Springford's got a really good passing attack. They're 600, 700 plus yards up top already. Yeah. I know they lost to Cumberland Valley. Okay. But in their first 2 games, they outscored their opponents 92-0. So they can play some D. I'll go Rams at home. But again, Township's played these 3 crazy, kooky, unbelievably close games in a row, which means this one probably will be as well. So I'll go Rams, but it'll probably be like 28-27.
Maybe the youth, Rhines. Maybe that's a really good point. Maybe they're not going to be reliable because they're so young. But I'm so impressed with what they did over the.
Oh, absolutely.
Scheduling that game and then playing the way they did with no time to prepare against a team with those kind of athletes.
Yeah. Evans was ecstatic after the game. I mean, he was disappointed they lost. He said, we got to flush it and get back to it. But he said, my goodness, our young kids here on defense just did that with Harrisburg. He was super impressed.
On the streaks now after that.
Yeah.
All right. Martin Luther King 0-1 going to Wilson 1-2. Wilson, as we just mentioned, coming off that 42-14 loss to Exeter. Martin Luther King coming off a 18-6 loss to Chester. Mr. Reinhardt, I believe you have an interesting stat on Wilson's 1-2 start.
Oh wow, yeah, this was unbelievable. This one blew me away. Wilson's in a 2-game losing streak. They lost to Mifflin and Exeter, both 42-14, but neither game was all that close. This is Wilson's first 2-game regular season losing streak since 2003. Chad Henney's senior year. They lost on the road in back-to-back weeks to McCaskey and Hempfield. Close-ish.
With a high school All-American quarterback.
With Henney at quarterback and Cantafio was the coach.
Yeah, Cantafio must have screwed it up.
Yeah, that's not make playoffs. They were 7-3. So yeah, it's been 18 years since they've lost 2 games in a row in the regular season. Here's the culprit. Wilson's giving up 35 points and 335 yards a game, and they've given up 700 plus rushing. Granted, they faced Nick Singleton in there, and the Nangle kid from Exeter last week really chewed them up. But that 700 plus, 35 points, 335 points a game, that's just crazy. MLK, real quick, Philly Pub League, District 12. Their first 2 games this year were postponed because of COVID. So they lost to Chester in their opener, and Chester's 3-0, so Chester must be decent. MLK won the Philly Pub 5A title in 2019, the last full year of football. So they'll bring some athletes, some big dudes, I'm quite sure, but I'll go Wilson here at home. They're angry. they're beyond angry now at Wilson. So they'll find it here, and I think they get it started here.
I think where Wilson is at right now, it's a great thing for them that they have a coach like Doug Doms and a personality like Doug Doms, a human being like him. I think they get well. I think they win. I like Wilson.
Yep. I also like Wilson. All right, one more game to talk about here and pick. It's on Saturday. Jenkintown 0-1 going to Pequea Valley 0-2. So the winner of this will come out their first win of the year. Jenkintown is coming off a 31-6 loss to Bristol. Pequea Valley coming off a 76-37 loss to Kutztown in a game where neither team played much defense. I'll go Pequea Valley here. Perhaps they get a couple stops and keep scoring.
Well said. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know how much to go on here, but Pequea has shown they can score a little. Kutztown is not a bad team at sort of that level that they're at. So
sure.
I think Pequea a little.
Yeah, Pequea's offense hasn't been the problem. They just haven't stopped anybody.
Yeah.
What Kutztown did last week is kind of mind-boggling. They had 656 yards, which is like, wow. And they rushed for 587. I mean, teams go through a whole season and not rush for 587.
That's
they had it in 4 quarters.
That is a big number, my friend.
And the wacky thing about that game was it was running clock, and they still got all those yards and kept scoring. I like PB's offense here, and they're at home, and Jenkintown's only played 1 game, and they've struggled here a little bit. So Temple has 6 touchdown passes in 2 games already for PV. So home cooking for the Braves. They're going to score. They just got to stop people. Who knows? This one might be 56-55 in overtime, but I'll go Pequea Valley.
And we should mention at the back end here, there was one more game on the schedule, and then Wednesday morning we found out Cedar Crest is now not playing this Friday.
Right.
They were supposed to play Governor Mifflin.
Yes.
Miflin's picking up a game Saturday, and now we don't know what's going on with Crest, correct?
Crest had to postpone because of you-know-what. And right now they're just kind of keeping that as a TBA with Mifflin, but they're going to explore their options for that November 5th date, which is where Elko, Anvil, and Pequea are playing non-league makeups.
Ryan, I thought I heard that Mifflin was going to play Harrisburg this
week. They are, yeah.
Harrisburg's game. That's a heavyweight match.
Yeah.
That's Harrisburg's game against Central Dauphin got bagged because CD, for the 2nd week in a row, has COVID, and they were supposed to play Township. Talk about pound for pound, who's the best team in the district? We will find out here. I mean, that's a huge game.
Yeah.
Mifflin and Harrisburg.
I think Mifflin has been.
I'll take Mifflin.
I know we're not picking that game, but I'll take Mifflin.
I'll pick Mifflin. Who do you guys got? Now, I saw Harrisburg last week, and I was impressed. But they start a freshman quarterback, and the passing game was kind of herky-jerky, and then they would get a 40-yard bomb downfield on a great catch. But they certainly had athletes, a couple of 2-3 big dudes up front, and Kyle Williams and the other guy, I forget his name. The name escapes my memory, but he had a huge game rushing. He was at 100+, and he was like a fullback guy, and Township just couldn't stop him. Harrisburg's good. Certainly, yeah, they're good. But Mifflin, Harrisburg, holy moly. It's a great, unbelievable game. So Crest will be off. No game for the Falcons. We'll see what they do in that November 5th week. If they make districts, they won't play it. Assuming Governor Mifflin makes districts, they won't be available on November 5th. But Cedar Crest could certainly add a game against any other team that does not make districts. So we'll see if they get a week 10.
All right. And this is part of the show where we ask, where are you at on Friday? Where are you guys going?
I'm going to Anvil, Cleona, where they will be hosting Donegal in what we hope is a ground-oriented battle.
I'm quite sure it will be. 422 eastbound to Collegeville. Hi, Uncle Mike. Collegeville for Manheim Central at Perkiomen Valley, and then Saturday I'll be in Kinzers for Jenkintown against Pequea Valley on Saturday. See ya.
And I believe Friday I'll be back at Colombia, the Tide hosting Catholic in a rivalry game, because I'll have a late night posting stories and trying to update scoreboard and such. So staying close to home, but that should be another big game. Vocabulary word of the week, I should say, beef. When Jeff was mentioning the Penn Manor offensive line, just wanted we always have a nice, interesting word there every week. So I should probably start pointing that out and create a list.
Yeah.
Beefy.
All right, guys. Anything else for the good of the order?
I'm kind of surprised that there's only 2 undefeated teams left in 3 weeks: Central and Octorara. That's it. There's the only undefeated teams.
Doesn't look like a vintage year for our league, but let's not draw that conclusion yet.
No, and I'm looking at the bigger schools, and Mifflin in 5A is going to be an incredibly tough out. And in 6A, who knows? Is CD going to get enough games to get in?
I think 6A is a little more open. I think probably McDevitt, although I'm not sure about that. McDevitt looks like they would be in 4A, probably the favorite. And we're going to have to work. We're going to have to start looking at this stuff. Districts, now that we're getting into the middle portion of the season, it's starting to take shape a little bit.
Yeah, can Wilson and or Township figure it out and get
Hempfield
2 or 3 games? Hempfield?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's 3 teams right there. Like, I wouldn't want to play them week 11 when they really are clicking, if they're able to make it that far. I know the records don't show it, but I think they figure things out. All right, this has been the LL Football Roundtable, sponsored by Thaddeus Stevens College Technology. I'm John Walke. Is Mike Rossi. Is Jeff Reinhardt. For more LL football coverage, check out the football page in Lancaster Online. Pick up a copy of Saturday's newspaper for all of the game action from Friday. Pick up a copy of Sunday's newspaper for the Saturday game involving Pequay Valley. I believe the box scores and standings will be in there as well on Sunday. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next week on to Week 4 football. See you later.